In today's episode, we talk about absolutely nothing because this is an extras episode for what month is it? I don't know. April! Yay! Yeah, whatever. We don't need to play all that music now, do we? Oh, man. So what has been going on this month? Oh, geez. So first things first, this is the show about the show, I guess. The episode about the show. Things that are going on in the show or in real life that aren't really specifically oriented to family or fatherly advice. As a matter of fact, I probably should ask you for some advice considering some of the things that have happened this month. But it's April. Most of the snow and ice is mostly gone from Anchorage. We haven't done any grilling yet. And the reason I say that is because basically whenever I start grilling, that's whenever good times are here. You know, we're outside doing stuff, and yeah, so the official grill season hasn't quite hit yet. So that's one way of putting it. What else? So we're in the middle of Passover. Actually, technically we're at the end of Passover. Passover is going to end in about an hour of me recording this or saying this. And so, so if you don't know what Passover is the Jewish holiday where, essentially you are celebrating the Exodus story, if you will. And so there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, a lot of symbolic stuff. And so we had our Passover Seder last Friday, and it was okay. Our daughter was having some issues, and we kept the kids home from school, and we're still kind of struggling with that. Some of the fatherly things that you probably would have to deal with, and having a teenage girl in your life, as a daughter. And, yeah, so it didn't quite go off the way we wanted to, but, it seemed to flow fairly well. So that was kind of nice. But, most people typically have their Passover Seder, and they have people that would come over and enjoy that with them. And it's essentially a telling, and there's 5 questions, and there's all kinds of stuff, and you eat specific things. And, so one of those is matzah, and matzah is a flat, dry, really dry bread, and kind of like a cracker. It's mostly tasteless. Technically, during Passover, you're not supposed to have a flavored matzah, you know, like with salt and other good stuff like garlic or whatever. Yeah, so it's not so great. Of a meal, but it can be pretty good. Typically this time of year, sometimes I'm actually grilling at this point, but I was too tired. You know, I wouldn't say I'm still getting over bronchitis, but I'm definitely feeling, you know, still a little tired and not 100%. Kind of like in some ways what COVID did to me. But, anyway, Passover dinner. So during Passover, you're not supposed to eat any leaven. So that's typically bread, or other things that would have that in there. So if you're not into bread, hey man, Passover's made for you. But believe it or not, there's yeast in quite a bit of things. And there's also a lot of confusion, and I kind of let my wife just deal with it the way she wants to do it. And sometimes she says, this year we can't do this, or we can't do this anymore. And I'm like, man, I just wanted to know what it was I was going to eat for the rest of the week. And, yeah, it's a bit of a challenge. So I'm thankful that Passover is at an end. So my tradition, adapting these things and making our own traditions, So Passover is called the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? So because the matzah is unleavened and it's baked in a hurry, and yeah, I think it's less than 8 minutes or something like that. So I've got my own particular celebration or ritual or tradition. So you have the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which goes for 7-8 days, something like that. Afterwards, we have the Feast of Krispy Kreme. So you haven't been able to eat bread. You haven't been able to eat all these sweets and good things and puffy and leaven and that type of stuff. So away we go to Krispy Kreme. So as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to get ready and grab the kids, and we're going to go to Krispy Kreme and get donuts. And we're also going to try and convert our neighbors to embracing this tradition as well. We've been doing it for several years now. I think since the kids were born. Actually, no, I think it's been longer than that. I don't know. But anyway, it's a fun tradition. I'm totally with it, obviously. And yeah, donuts for dinner. It's a great thing. Let's see. What else has been going on this month? I tell people all the time I've got a photographic memory, and that's because I usually take a lot of photos. In the past, I don't know, 6 months or something like that, that necessarily hasn't really happened. Let's see. So my wife and my daughter went and got makeovers last night. So that was pretty interesting. Spent about $300 on makeup. I get texts and calls. Is this okay? Well, I guess since it was my idea, sure. And it was a way that my daughter and my wife could do some bonding. And let's face it, my wife is not like a girly girl. She's kind of a tomboy, kind of has always been that way. She's beautiful. Doesn't typically need to wear makeup, but when she does wear makeup, she's even more beautiful. And yeah, so I guess our daughter doesn't get the full exposure to what a woman typically does, and that's okay. But there's been some things going on, and so we just wanted to maybe help show what goes on in a family and what the stereotypical family looks like. And it's fine to be atypical and outside the norm, outside the box, but she'd never really kind of seen it. And in the past 2 years during the pandemic, things have been a challenge for her. And it's been a challenge for me, obviously, since last Friday. Having to process a lot of this information, and me and my wife have these heated conversations back and forth. And really all that matters in this world to me is my love for them, my daughter, my wife, my son, and the cats, and my family. It's really all that matters to me. And yeah, so I mean, trying to navigate in those waters can be a bit of a challenge, like you're a negotiator, and as the so-called leader of the family, the person that makes the decisions, sometimes you don't always feel that way. And sometimes you don't want to make those decisions, honestly. But anyway, so they went and got makeovers. They had some fun. So our daughter's got her hair cut, and she's got it colored, and so she's doing all these things that she wants to do. And normally we just wouldn't think about doing or whatnot. So I think they enjoyed it. They got to spend some time together. Conan's been having his drum lessons. And so for him, we're getting him his own cymbals. Sounds kind of weird. He's got a drum kit. It's an electric one. In the beginning, it was great. And probably realistically for most people, an electric drum kit is pretty good. Now, it was fairly cheap. So the cymbals don't react like a typical cymbal, in the drum world. So if you don't know what a cymbal is, it's the big shiny things, the discs that make loud noises, crash and whatnot. So he's been playing with these electric ones, and they don't have the same feel. So in his drum class, he's got an electric drum kit, but with real cymbals. And the cymbals are kind of one of his favorite things. So I told him, I was like, I'll get you some. So I got some, and they're practice ones, or indoor ones, I guess. They've got holes all in them. So they kind of look like cheese graters, but circular. And the noise is much reduced. So it's pretty cool. So he's going to be super happy about it. In a lot of ways, he seems like he's Tommy Lee from Motley Crue, at least behind the drums. He's spinning the sticks, and he's doing dance moves, and he's spinning cymbals like a DJ. It's chaos, but he's having fun, and he's really into it. And yeah, as a musician of sorts, not really a good one, but I guess in my spare time, whatever spare time I have that I dedicate to it, guitars and stuff like that, I've always wanted my own drummer, so we decided we'd make one. In the business world, things have been great. Business is picking up quite a bit in Anchorage and the surrounding area. Interesting to note, a couple of days ago, the National Weather Service for Anchorage put out something, it was a tweet, and basically said that tonight marks the first night of the year without complete darkness in the Anchorage area. So the sky won't darken past astronomical twilight, or the level of light observed when the sun is 12 to 18 degrees below the horizon. And so true darkness won't return until August 25th. So what does that mean? That means pretty much it doesn't get fully dark. It gets kind of twilighty, kind of dark, and that's about it. And so real true darkness won't come back until August, almost the end of summer. So that's pretty cool for us. We're into that. So I'm looking back through my pictures, and I also saw that there was a old white dude with big white beard wearing all black and a black top hat down the street. And I had to take a picture of that. That was pretty interesting. Let's see what else. My wife rearranged our bedroom, technically her bedroom and her bed. Moved everything opposite each other within like an hour. It's always funny. Like, she'll ask me for help with certain things, and, as if like, oh, I can't lift that. And then she'll move the entire house within an hour by herself. And I'm like, how do you do this? I swear she's like freakishly strong, or is just a master mover. Either way. What else? The cats have been doing their own thing. If you listen to our previous episode, I did some home improvement stuff around the house. The kids have been running around doing a bunch of stuff. They've missed quite a bit of school. They were out of school again today because they had sore throats. So the educational curve keeps dipping downwards. Yeah. So, I mean, the big stuff there, I guess. I guess you could call it the big stuff. I upgraded some of my recording equipment for the podcast. I got a microphone, which if you're not into tech stuff, I guess you're listening, so I'll tell you about it. It's called an Electro Voice RE20. And so this is a microphone that has been used by Stevie Wonder and all these different people throughout history since the 60s. It's a really great mic. It eliminates a lot of background noise, which, realistically, you listen to this podcast, if you gave me some feedback, I could probably make things better, but that's okay. I love you guys, no matter what. But I don't know how you guys listen to me. I don't know if it's in a car or on headphones, or if you're sitting in front of your computer and you're on speakers. I really don't know. As a matter of fact, I don't really know who you guys are, but I know you listen. And in the podcasting world, people spend a lot of money on podcasting in general, equipment. I don't even want to tell you what I've spent on my current setup. But needless to say, for us as podcasters, usually you kind of want to get better and do more with it and kind of up your game, so to speak. You know, you want to do it better, more professionally. And that's why I got another microphone in a nutshell, to help make it sound better for you. So I'm spending money. I don't make any money off this. Zero. As a matter of fact, this podcast costs me money all the time. But you know what? As long as one of you guys, girls, people, whoever you are listening, it's 1,000% worth it. So thank you for listening. It really, really, truly means a lot to me. And if you notice that I sound better, I guess, on this microphone or sound worse, I'd love it if you told us. Here's where I plug the website and Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. If you go to YNMFshow.com, if you have the time, you could do that on your cell phone right now. You could see a little bit more about us, see some pictures and other stuff and memes and other fun things. Maybe get to interact with us, leave us a comment. Maybe I could talk directly to you. You could ask me a question. I could give you an answer or something funny. I could show you pictures of cats. Yeah, I sound desperate. Please talk to me. Oh, man. It's kind of funny. So I talk to customers and people all day. And a lot of times by the time I come home, I'm ready to not talk to anybody. But on the flip side of things, I kind of am ready to talk to somebody. I get these scammers that will send me messages all the time. And it's honestly, it's really hard to tell who is legit and who is not. But more often than not, I err on the side of caution. But I got this text the other day. I might have already deleted it. But, oh yeah, here we go. So I forget what area code it was from. I think it was Boston. It says, I will be leaving for the LA after I finish the work at hand. By the way, how is your contract going? And I'm like, I have no idea who this person is, whether they're talking about LA is in Louisiana or LA is in lower Alabama. I'm sorry, Louisiana or lower Alabama or Los Angeles. I don't know. But it got me kind of curious. I was like, who is this? I am kind of interested. I would like to talk to somebody like this. It's kind of funny. I spent like 20 or 30 minutes the other day talking to a scammer. And it seemed like a legit kind of conversation. But I was just like, well, what do scammers want? They want money. What do they not want? They don't want to waste their time. And I was like, well, I could try to have a conversation with a scammer and waste their time and see what happens from there. So I did that, and I was like, kind of cool. Yeah, so I don't fall for scammers. Thankfully, I guess. I'm not trying to tempt fate here and be like, oh, please try and scam me. Please do it. But there's a lot of stuff going on out there. And I guess if I was to try to put some wisdom into this episode about something, I guess it would be scammers. There's a lot of people out there that are pretty good about it. Like, they've done the research. They've gone out and done pictures or copied stuff, or, they've got it down to a science, As a matter of fact, there's lots of YouTube videos on people that go out of their way to mess with scammers and get them in trouble, or, take them to the cleaners from as far as money goes, or, get them arrested or whatever. It's interesting to see that, these are real businesses that employ scammers. Excuse me. I just split a candy bar with my daughter a little while ago. Oh, I gotta make room for Krispy Kreme. But yeah, I mean they're in corporate office buildings in places outside the United States. I don't know of any ones that are actually in the United States, but they've got HR departments and insurance and all this other stuff, and it's strange. You've got like a business who is interested in you and getting your money. Now, obviously, they don't want to come after somebody who is going to lead them down a rabbit hole and not give them money or not fall prey to their scam, because guess what? Time is money. There's always another fish out in the sea. They can go after another one. But you gotta, if something seems to be too good to be true, it probably is. Same way with a relationship. Most relationships that are too good to be true, probably are. The whole sugar daddy, sugar mama type scenarios, or as a matter of fact, maybe you don't know about what a sugar daddy, sugar mama scenario is. A lot of times what a sugar, I guess, I was doing some research for a book, and I started going down this path of trying to understand what this whole thing was and get some more details, because I had a really interesting idea for a book. And at some point, I just said, no, I don't even want to write that. I don't want to do this. So I just kind of dropped that project completely. It sounded pretty cool at first, but it was going to be a twist on the Faustian legend or mythos, and it could have been cool, but I don't know. It was just really weird. It was, I don't know, sad. Just, I don't know. But I mean, essentially what it is people, it's like a mild form or kind of prostitution of some sort. And some people get sucked into a relationship where, they've developed feelings for somebody, and they believe that relationship is actually genuine. And in fact, it's not. It's really more of they need something from somebody. So in the lightest case, like prostitution, is essentially, hey, give me sex and I will give you money. Well, sugaring, I guess, is more of, I'll give you sex in exchange for things. Maybe it's not money, maybe it's clothes, maybe it's jewelry, or, whatever, technology, guns, guitars, or whatever, if the roles are reversed, it's just somebody giving something in exchange for something else. And, I didn't get too far into it before I didn't want to read anymore. I didn't want to see anymore. I was just like, this is just not for me. But I did realize that in various parts of my life that something like this had happened to me in various shapes or forms. And it's not too dissimilar from what you would call a marriage of convenience, where somebody gets married to somebody because they're rich or because they're powerful or they have something that they want. So it's, I don't know, but scams being scams, people taking advantage of you is something you have to watch out for. I think from a self-respect standpoint, if you don't have a lot of respect for yourself, or you don't have confidence in yourself, or you don't believe in yourself, you could be more susceptible to these types of things. But I would say on the flip side too, if you're overly confident or arrogant, you can also be susceptible to this type of stuff. I think the best advice I could give you is just be wary, be cautious. I'm not saying don't trust people, but let them earn that trust. Just don't give it willy-nilly, I guess. Here I am, I'm gullible, I'll believe anybody. I kind of wish that we could be like that, from I don't know, like a spiritual perspective, like the Dalai Lama or holy person, something where, they believe in love and compassion and humankind and being good to one another. I wish it could be that way. I wish we could all be that understanding and compassionate towards one another. But it's really difficult whenever something bad happens to you to put a negative slant on it. I'll give you an example. I hear people talk about how bad guys are. Guys only want one thing. And these comments seem to come from this jaded type of perspective. Somebody wronged somebody, and it's influenced my position. I'm jaded. I am influenced, and I feel this way because of the things that happened to me. And it's a sword that cuts both ways. No matter what, guys, women, whatever. I think the best thing that we can do as people, fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, whoever, is if something bad happened to you, you can't hold that against other people. Everybody has to be essentially equal. If somebody does something bad to you, if somebody scams you, and it's a woman, hypothetically, you can't be a woman hater because of what one person did. It's kind of like what, the bad news that cops have. It's like, well, this cop did this. Well, all cops are bad. It's the one bad apple. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch. It's illogical. It's something that we just shouldn't do. And people in general just tend to do that. And I'll admit it. I've done it too. And sometimes I do it myself. But I'm always making a conscious effort to not do it. I think, rampant masculinity, rampant feminism, rampant racism, even political, far right, far left, or radical, all these things that are obviously gone too far come from a probable source, like either they're learned or they're taught, or it comes from a position of experience, and they're putting it off on somebody else whenever they don't. They shouldn't have to. They don't. It just shouldn't happen. Yeah. I guess it's okay if you don't like tomatoes or you've been to a restaurant and it was horrible and you don't want to go back. Like, admittedly, I'm not a fan of Applebee's. I'm just not. I've had bad experiences at Applebee's. Not really horrible, but just, it wasn't my cup of tea, and I just don't want to go back to any one of them. Not to say I wouldn't give them a chance, but it's just not my cup of tea. So we're almost at 30 minutes. I don't know if anybody can just listen to me ramble for 30 minutes, but be a good person. Try to have some compassion, love, and understanding for your fellow human beings. Don't get caught up in scams. But also be open to trusting people and loving other people. Do some good. And I'll say this, do random acts of kindness. Just do it. Somebody's going to remember that. As sure as somebody did something bad to somebody and they remember it and it follows with them for a long time, if you do something good for somebody randomly, couldn't it have the same type of consequences, but in a good way? Could be. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. This is, I don't know. I'm just trying a new format here, so I'm just going to tell you good vibes only, babies. I love you. Y'all take care. Here comes the music. It's not the normal music, but it sounds pretty good. Y'all take care. Remember, you're a fan of me. I'm a fan of you. do some good in this world. Hooray!